Oh yes, there is a new discussion forum system in Blackboard. Now this is not affecting our spring 2013 production environment, but the sandbox environment now has the new discussions tool instead of the previous discussion board. Now you'll probably be wondering what's going to be significant about this, so let me show you it. Let me show you it, yes. First of all, this is the same kind of view for listing the forums that you're used to. And if you go into a forum, the default view is to just show you the original threads that have been added. And so most of this looks very familiar, create thread and so forth. When you actually go into an existing post, though, that's when it starts looking a little different. See, here's the post that we're looking at. We do have controls to make it hide or expand out again, but it's all expanded by default. And this was the post, this was a reply to the post, and this was a reply to the reply. And you notice it's doing a little bit of indenting here as replies to replies happen. So this is a little more like what people think of when they think threaded discussion forum. And it makes it easy to see everything all at once. You can also collapse everything if you need it to fit in a tighter space. But guess what? That means you can open up the first post in a thread and have a very good chance of just printing out all the replies and replies to replies and everything. Now, when the time comes to actually reply to a post, that's where you have the little reply link. And then it all looks pretty familiar again, so you can put in your insightful comments. I don't have insightful comments. That's just not how I roll. And when you submit them, of course, it puts them down at the bottom with a little separate success message. And for those who, notice the subtleties, this one was a reply to this one, so it's indented, whereas this one's not indented because it's a reply to the original one. And it's fairly obvious just from looking at the string of replies what is actually going on. Now, you've noticed, of course, my picture showing up all over the place in here. That's one of the things that if students load their images into the system, you will see their picture or whatever avatar they've chosen to represent them attached to the posts. So it's more than just recognizing a name. You'll also be able to recognize them by whatever avatar they choose to represent themselves. And of course you have some nice little controls onto how many posts are in this given thread and some other little fancy schmancy stuff. Well, enough about how it looks a little different. Bet you're kind of curious what new functionality might be there. Well, for starters, when you go to create a forum, you do have a new choice. I'll just go ahead and call this second forum here. You have a choice very early on for viewing threads or replies. The standard view is exactly what you'd expect, what you're used to, and what you just saw in that other forum. But there's a new option here. Participants must create a thread in order to view other threads in this forum. Now it's warning me that the forum description is empty because that's where it thinks I should be posting instructions for what the students should do. And of course in a real situation that would make sense, and so you'd want to come up here and actually put in some instructions. Of course yours will actually make sense. But what this means is when students first go into the forum, they're going to have a choice to create a thread, and until they create a thread, they're not going to see anything else in the forum. Yeah, how's that sound? And then, of course, you have pretty much the typical grading options that you have. A few restrictions placed on the forum because we chose this participants must create a thread. So you can't do the grade threads function, you can't allow anonymous posts, and so forth. I rather like the way that it marks off the things that you cannot change. That's pretty good. And of course, if you're requiring them to create a thread before they can see anything else, then you obviously cannot turn off the ability for them to create new threads because they need that. All right? So we'll submit that. And then, of course, as an instructor, you go in and it looks like no big shakes here, right? And now to show you the good stuff, I actually had to go into this course as a student. And going into that standard mode, pretty much what you would expect. It looks just like it did as an instructor. Of course, a few less controls going on. But going into this second forum that we set up, where it requires you to post a thread before you can see anything else, when you go in there as a student, this is a post-first discussion forum. It'll tell them how many threads are in the forum and that they have to create a thread. And it makes it extremely obvious that that's what they need to do. Create thread. And after this, it's pretty much business as usual in the discussion forum. You do your post, and then once you've done that, of course, I'm not getting much credit for this. Once you've done that, it behaves just as if there was no restrictions at all. Incidentally, see, there's proof positive. This is with my student account. Going in here with my instructor account, though, just looks normal whether I've made a post or not. And then also, back in as an instructor again, something that was not readily obvious in the first forum, but here in the second forum where I actually have a student submission, I would like to draw attention to the fact that if I reply with my instructor account, there's actually a notation on there that indicates that I am the instructor and the manager of the board. In case you weren't aware, there's always been an option in the discussion forums to make other users, like one of the students, a manager of a forum, and that gives them certain abilities to like moderate posts and things. So if you continued using that ability, their posts would be marked as being a manager. In your case, you are a manager by virtue of being the instructor as well, so you're going to get both those designators on any post that you made, which should make it very easy for students to pick out your posts among all the rest. I mean, that's even if you don't put a picture of yourself in there that they might recognize. So that's just yet another way to make your contributions to the discussion forums pop out and be a little easier for students to find. Again, that's going to be true whenever you make a post with your instructor account, whereas your student account is just a student. Okay? So that's how the new discussions tool looks. It's live on our sandbox environment now. Why don't you go ahead and give it a try.